I'm super excited. The next panel is with Kai, I hope I'm pronouncing their name correctly, and Jorge, Mexico and America, I think, but the Queer LGBT Center is based in Thailand. And Cody, their founder, was a keynote speaker at the last conference. But I was so impressed with what they've done that I really wanted to give them a space at this conference. This is our last, but not least, panel. So I'd like to invite Jorge and Kai to switch their camera on, please. I think they have been now promoted from the audience. Yes. Is your name Kai? Am I saying it right?
Yes, thank you, Kai.
Fantastic. Very good. And Jorge?
Hello.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited because Cody was at the last conference as a keynote, and I was so eager to make sure that you had more time to showcase the phenomenal work that you've been doing. So I'm super excited. I'm in London in the UK. My name is Laila. My pronouns are she, her. If you have just joined us, I am cisgendered female, feminine presenting. I've got a red dress, brown eyes, and brown curly hair. Kai, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. My name is Kai Thomas. My pronouns are they, them. I am located in San Diego. I am a non-binary individual. I am white. I am a little more masculine presenting, and I am wearing a blue sweater, and I'll pass it over.
We had a really interesting discussion because in the previous panel, we had another international panel and people were talking about jumper or sweater or how to describe. And what do you do?
So during the day, I am a program officer on a gender and youth development program that is an international NGO based in Washington, D.C. And on all other times of the day, I'm the co-founder and COO of the Global Center.
Thank you. And Jorge, ¿dónde estás?
Yeah, well, I am from Mexico City originally, but I am now living in New York City. So yeah, well, my name is Jorge. I use the pronouns he, they. You can also use my name as my pronoun. I am a non-binary person. I have a feminine, androgynous gender expression, very fluid. And well, I have an organization in Mexico named DILO, Escuelas Incluyentes. DILO in Spanish means say it, just say it. And the phrase is inclusive schools. And we've been promoting inclusive policies for LGBTI students locally. And here in the Global Center, I am the director of research, and we've been drafting reports, making publications, collecting data on the necessity of delivering these topics in the education system. So for me, it is really a privilege to be here sharing all the materials and all the processes and all the learnings we've had in this process.
Thank you so much. I'm going to leave you to run the last session. Thank you. I'll see you just before the end.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I will try to share my screen. I'm not sure if I have the technical tools for that available, but I will try right now.
If not, I see the option on my screen on the menu at the bottom. I can share if you don't have that.
I have it.
You got it. Perfect.
Well. Great. So, well, this is our presentation. We're going to speak about broadly what we've been doing in the Global Center, what are the main areas we have, some products, some materials that we've issued. as we mentioned, well, we are Kai and Jorge, and yeah, we also want some participation from you to also to learn and to know what are your interests, or what is your background also on this topic. So to begin, we would like to have a very brief warm-up activity. So I would ask you to go to this platform named Mentimeter. You can go to menti.com and type that number in your screen, or you can scan the QR code that is there available. If you have any doubts, please tell us and we can try to solve any issue. We're gonna leave just some minutes for people to join. Okay, and now we have some answers already. I'm gonna share my screen for the Mentimeter in order to see how some people have already answered to the questions we have there. So we have 3 questions, so please answer either with a yes or with a no. If you've had, or in the middle, if you don't know, if you've had teacher training or professional development on LGBTI topics. Also, if your school has a policy or a clause that sanctions discriminatory behavior based on sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. And if you feel comfortable and confident teaching LGBTI topics in your classrooms. So we know that not all of the people here in the Zoom session might be educators. So please answer, if you're an educator, answer about your school. If you are not an educator, answer these questions as if you think, a teacher in your area would answer them, please. So here we have, and here's saying, have you had teacher training or professional development on LGBTI topics? We have 1.5 as an answer. So it's not a yes, not a no, it's a so-so. Maybe some schools and teachers have had training. Maybe it's been in an unprofessional setting or in a non-formal education process or spaces. Does your school have a policy or a clause that sanctions discriminatory behavior based on sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression? We have the same answer, 1.5, as the average. So it's again, it's not a yes, it's not a no. Some of them, it's starting to incline for a no, for less spaces or processes or materials or documents that are specifying these topics. And the third is, do you feel comfortable and confident teaching LGBTI topics in your classroom? And we have that most of the answers are inclined to the no, to not feel that comfortable or that confident addressing LGBTI topics at the school and in lesson plans. So here, I just wanted to give some minutes to reflect on this. I don't know if you have like any idea of why this is happening, like a main cause, a main reason, or also to speak about what are some of the outcomes of this scenario. So if someone wants to use a microphone or share in the chat it would be great to also to listen to some of your experiences, of your ideas, of your reading of this situation. So does anyone want to participate? Type in the chat, use a microphone. No? Okay. Well, maybe we can have some minutes in the end to reflect, because we really want to use this as a space to share, no? And to learn from each other. And it would be really useful for us to understand also like your perspective on your ideas, or even the materials and resources you might know that are useful for addressing these topics, or that you've used in your classrooms, or that or even if you've learned with those materials that other people have been using in classes. But going back to the slides presentation, so now Kai is going to speak a bit about the timeline and the process that we've lived here in the Global Center to be who we are now. So please, Kai, you have the mic.
Thank you so much, Jorge. So excited to engage with you all today, and please feel free to continue engaging in the chat as we go along. But a little bit about the Global Center, where we started and where we are today. So we started the Global Center in 2018. We had numerous Zoom calls with 5 co-founders, and we developed the foundation. So you'll see that as the starting point on the timeline. In 2019, we brought on 2 new team members, and Jorge was one of them. For education and research, we started to develop those 2 units. And in April of 2020, we formally registered as a nonprofit organization in Washington, DC. In June 2020, we got our tax exempt, and so we've really laid the foundation. It took a long time, especially in the midst of COVID, and yeah, we really did a lot of work during that period. And it wasn't really until this year that we got to see the fruit, like really got to see the outcomes of all of our work. So in January 2021, we brought on 7 new team members. And so we had 14 team members in total. And just to note that we're all volunteer, and we are committed to the mission of the Global Center of one day, you know, having a world where LGBTI youth are free. Then in May of this year, May 2021, we onboarded our board of directors. So we have 5 folks on our board of directors. And if you go to our website, we'll share the link later, you can see them. And then October today, we have 23 members in 12 countries. So we've grown quite a bit over the past 3 years. And we're really excited to share some of that work with you today. All right, so on this slide, we talk about the problem. So when we started laying the foundation of our organization, we wanted to define the problem. So for people, for the youth, for LGBTI youth, what we see as a problem that exists in many places is that we know that LGBTI youth face bullying, harassment, discrimination, which can result in loneliness and isolation, sometimes homelessness, and even suicide. But we also know there's a tool, the power of education, which is not fully being utilized to confront this oppression. And that's why we're really working through education with teachers to ensure that we create this safe environment, but not only a safe environment, but a flourishing environment for LGBTI youth. And we have to think about the environment as well, the environment around us in schools, When many people think about education, they're only thinking about what's happening in the classroom. But this has led to a lack of stakeholder engagement, and so working with all the people involved, the teachers, the administrators, the parents, the school district administrators. There are a lot of stakeholders to engage in these conversations to create this environment that is safe, and not only is safe, but it creates an environment where LGBTI youth are able to flourish. So what did we do? So at the Global Center, we started by listening. We did a foundational needs assessment survey with nearly 1,000 LGBTI people in 43 countries telling us about their experiences. And from that research, we found that about 45% of LGBTI people surveyed experienced anxiety in the past month. Only about 5% of LGBTI plus people surveyed learned about LGBTI topics in their textbooks. And we also found that about 44% of LGBTI plus people surveyed go to LGBTI specific spaces because it provides a safe space for them to be themselves. Feel free to move ahead to the next slide, Jorge.
Great, thank you very much, Kai. So yeah, we've created this space where we can gather, even though we are participating mainly virtually, but we've really used this as a space to innovate between young people, for young people, and how we can use our creativity and our tools and our knowledge to address some of the most relevant issues we've identified on LGBTI population, which is a lack of education and the lack of sensitiveness on the education system on the needs of LGBTI students. So how do we solve these problems? Well, we do it collectively, by working with key stakeholders to create freedom through education for LGBTI plus people globally. And that's what we envision here at the Global Center, a world where LGBTI plus youth are free. So I'm gonna play our short About Us video so that you can hear directly from our diverse and multicultural voices in our community. I don't know if yeah.
Hola.
Hello.
Oi. 大家好，我是 Marshall.
Hello, I'm Cody.
I'm Kai.
Eu sou o Jim. I'm Kenny.
I'm Amanda.
E Jorge.
And we are the Global Center.
The Global Center is an NGO who transforms the world for LGBTI youth through education.
We work through accountability, sustainability, and transformation to end oppression. 我们的足迹遍布巴西、墨西哥、美国、中国、泰国。
The Global Center provides education, advocacy, research, and support for key stakeholders globally.
Nosso approach all ears nos permite liderar a partir da escuta, fazendo balanço entre o impacto local e global.
We facilitate workshops, conduct research, create curriculum, host lectures, and advocate through media for queer voices globally.
Para unirte a nosotros en la construcción de libertades, tú puedes
visit our website to learn more about our work.
Engage with us on social media and sign up for our mailing list.
Promote the Global Center with your network.
或者为我们提供捐赠。
Esse é o início de um centro para a comunidade onde todos são bem-vindos.
Freedom starts with you. It starts with us. It starts now.
我们是 Global Center.
Nós somos o Global Center.
We are the Global
Center.
Yeah, and freedom is really starting right now, because we've been doing this process in a way in which we can be accessible, no? In a way in which we can really provide valuable tools for multiple stakeholders in order to come up with better solutions, but that are more accurate, no, to the necessities at the local level or in specific regions and countries. So how do we create this change? Well, we do it through our team. Now we have 19 people in 10 countries. We have people in Mexico, in Brazil, in France, in Singapore, in Ireland, in Thailand, in China, in Germany, in Nigeria, and of course in the US. And we started with 5 founding members in 2018, as Kai was mentioning, through iterative conversations, and over the span of a year, we started to lay the foundation. And since then, we've grown significantly, and we're continuing to expand to more contexts and to represent more identities reflected under the LGBTI+ umbrella. And the 2 letters on there, we have A and R, are to protect their identities, given that they are based in countries or regions facing high security risks, which is, yeah, something that is common in specific countries and regions. And of course, we are also thinking about the ways in which we can improve our processes, to avoid risking the security of these people, but also, as Leila was mentioning, LGBTI people globally are being harassed, criminalized, and so our work and our products and our activities that we are delivering as the main objective of our organization are also considering, of course, those issues and the ways in which we can provide better opportunities and better scenarios for people for LGBTI people around the world, but specifically in countries at high security risks, and we're gonna speak about that in the following slides. Laila, I'm sorry. Laila, that's the correct pronunciation, right? Okay, so yeah, this is the team we have. And now we're gonna speak about the specific units and areas we have in the Global Center.
Thank you, Jorge. So a little bit about the stakeholders in which we engaged. I mentioned them earlier, but to get into explore them specifically, we want to talk about the stakeholders in the various fields and sectors that we are engaging with. So the first environment location is schools. So our main and our primary beneficiary are students, LGBTI youth 0 to 35. But it's not only engaging with youth, it's engaging with teachers. We've done several workshops and we've trained through conferences and workshops, and we'll show you in future slides some more stats on how many teachers we've trained. But it's also about working with administrators and the district officials, the educational officials in the area in which the schools operate, and also at the state or national levels. So engaging with all those officials, and whether that means to create inclusive policy at a state level or at a national level, but then how does the administrator or the educator implement that within their classroom? So working with schools are very important, and there's various stakeholders to work with them. We also work with businesses. So we've done workshops with businesses in the business sector. So we've hosted workshops and we have trainings, consultations, we have toolkits and resources to recognize the strategic role that organizers have in impacting societies, right? So organizations are a large part of, we all work in some form or fashion. And when we talk about youth as 0 to 35, that means these LGBTI youth are in the workplace. So how do we create environments that are safe and inclusive for them? That means engaging employers. So that is one of the key stakeholders that we engage with. Another area that we engage with is the healthcare sector. So we have trained pre and in-service doctors, and we are planning on continuing to work with nurses and other medical professionals on all the different aspects of health that impact LGBTI plus persons' lives. And then all of this needs to be backed up by strong empirical evidence that is used for impact, whether at the community level, international level, or advocating for state and national policymakers. So we really need to have a strong research and strong data background so we can advocate for LGBTI youth. And then also we do it through social media. We engage the broader public in our social media campaigns to ensure that we're educating people that surround LGBTI youth lives. So that's key in engaging the public, informing them, and advocating on behalf of LGBTI rights. And one of those things we do is the weekly Queer Digest, and you'll see that on our social media platforms. I'll pass it over to. All right, so just to get into explore some of the educational workshops that we've done. So we've had we had one health workshop with 31 pre-service teachers. We had one academic workshop with 10 scholars. We had, it should say, 4 educational workshops with 54 educators and 1 business workshop with 14 employers. So that's a snapshot of what we've done in the past year, the workshops that we've engaged in. And a quick jump to the next slide for advocacy. We are advocating through multiple platforms, but 2 notable ones is we wrote a letter to the United States Department of Education for Title IX on the Educational Amendment of 1972. So there was a hearing held as part of the Office for Civil Rights Comprehensive Review of the department's existing regulations on Title IX, and that is around, okay, we have a 10-minute warning. So I'm going to skip over this briefly. We also are engaging in intersex inclusive education for Intersexual Awareness Day, which is next week. So those are 2 of the letters we're engaging in. But let's jump through, Jorge, because I know we have limited time. Here's a photo of some of our team members engaging in World Pride, whether in conversation with a UN independent expert on SOGI, Victor, and that was in August of 2021, or marching in the parade. On the right side, you'll see our team member, Alex, who was marching in World Pride in August 2021. And lastly, I'll turn it over to Jorge to jump into a little bit about our research and resources that you will be able to, that we'll share with you.
Yeah, well, we're gonna speak about this a bit deeper, but in 2019, we launched a survey on the needs. It's a needs assessment survey in which we had 949 responses, and it will be published in December of this year. However, what we have ready is the 2020 findings from the classroom, which is a material reporting a survey we did on teachers, and that resulted in the creation of a teacher resource pack, which is a material with lesson plans and other many resources that educators can use to create a classroom that is more respectful towards LGBTI students. So moving to the, oh, well, and here we have a quote, no, on a workshop that Kai was delivering, and here we have yeah, only a quote of a person that was attending the seminar, and he says, "I never felt so happy and comfortable to share my sexual identities with my fellow classmates. The trainer really made the session a safe haven." So we just wanted to include this because sometimes the data and the numbers are like very raw, no? But this is what really explains, no, the impact of our work and what makes us drive to continue with this. But yeah, I mean, with the teacher resource pack and the process that we live to create that material, well, we have available in our website the findings from the classroom. This is well, in June 2020, we launched a survey directed to teachers. 174 teachers responded after the data was cleaned. This survey was available in English, in Mandarin, in Spanish, in Thai also. And we had respondents from all over the world, no? From the US, from Thailand, from China, from Estonia, from England also, from New Zealand, from India. There were 12 countries in total. And one data point that stood out was that 3 out of 4 teachers responded that they have not received teacher training or professional development on LGBTI topics. One teacher said, and here we have a quote, no? And all of these data and figures, you can find them in this document. That is, here we have a QR code, but we will share some links that you can use to download. But I'm gonna read the quote that it says, I think it would be helpful if there would be some kind of trainings for teachers to help them understand the importance of the topic, especially about needs and expectations of LGBTI students. So yeah, this is a document that actually shows the state of the art, no, or that was useful for us to use as a background to understand what can be valuable to share to educators in order to address these topics at classrooms. So yeah, and that's how we issued the teacher resource pack, which is a material that has valuable resources on this matter, no? And it speaks about terminology, no? And how can we address misconceptions on sexual orientation or gender identity. We are including, of course, lesson plans on how to explain this to students, and how do we create activities in classroom to be more accessible on this, no? So we're currently adapting, contextualizing, and translating the teacher resource pack for a Latin American edition in Spanish and a Thailand edition in Thai. And well, it has over 100 library books divided by age group, school recommended supports. We even have a social justice calendar, case studies to be able to have examples and to explain this more easily. So you can also scan the QR code in the upper right corner and you will be brought to the TRP, but we will also provide the link at the end of the session. And yeah. So Kai, do you want to explain a bit what is inside the teacher resource pack?
Yeah, so like Jorge mentioned, there are library books. There's over 100 books that we have listed, and they're broken down by age group. So 0 to 3 years old, 4 to 5 years old, 6 to 8 years old, 9 to 11 years old, 12 to 14 years old, and 15 to 18 years old. There's about 20 books in each section, and they center either LGBTI plus characters or other social justice topics. So if you're looking for a book to engage your young students or even people in your lives, there are over 100 books in this session to explore. So check it out. And at the end, as you go through, so some of the titles that we have on there are A is for activists, Queer, A Graphic History, Gender Queer, and Tango Makes Three, Hanona the Hula Warrior. If there are any that we don't have in our list, we want to hear from you. So we have a list that we'll drop in the chat at the end for you to enter books that we may have missed, or you can engage in the chat here, so we can know to include them in our list, because it's really important to to provide this information to teachers about how many books there are now that center LGBTI characters. All right, and the pack Jorge mentioned has lesson plans, right? So there's 8 lesson plans that are provided, ready to go for educators. You can use them or adapt them for your classroom. And they're based off UNESCO's International Technical Guidelines on Sexuality Education, which was developed by leading experts working on these topics throughout the world, and it provides a framework for implementation. So they're divided by developmental areas and levels, and there's 8 core content areas. And so they include relationships, number 1, number 2, values, rights, culture, and sexuality, number 3, understanding gender, number 4, violence and staying safe, number 5, skills for health and well-being, 6, the human body and development, 7, sexuality and sexual behavior, and 8, sexual and reproductive health. So please take a look at those lesson plans and see if they can be relatable or adaptable for your classroom. And it also includes school supports and other organizations who are doing this work. So school supports like anti-bullying policies and after-school clubs that can create and add to this inclusive environment. There's also a social justice calendar that lists key LGBTI+ and social justice holidays throughout the year so you can celebrate them with your students. And there's a list of organizations. Currently, the list is limited to the organizations working in United States, but as we start to build out and adapt for each region and each environment, we'll be listing out organizations that are doing the work globally near you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kai. Do you want to share this slide also on the ways to engage? Or...
Why don't you go for it? You got it.
I mean, I think we can skip this because we are running out of time, and we can share the paragraph with the links.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that we also have used social media channels as a tool to expand our network, to visibilize our materials, and also to celebrate days, no? And how we can use some activities and some dynamics in social media to visibilize the importance of rights for LGBTI youth, no? So we have 594 figures on Facebook, 251 followers on Instagram, 48 followers on Twitter. So we are really expanding our outreach. YouTube, we just started, well, we have some videos in YouTube, but we just started to create more engagement through there. We have this episode of the Global Spark, which is a podcast Kai and I are recording every month, and we are uploading it in several platforms, no? In Spotify, in YouTube, to make it more accessible also, no? In YouTube, you can include captions, you can include a visual element, no? For this activity. So yeah, here we have 11 followers on YouTube, 44 on LinkedIn, 9 followers on TikTok, because we are exploring new activities and new ways to share in this platform. And here we have our usernames in case you want to follow us in any of these platforms, social media. So we can use this time as an open dialogue, but I don't know about time, or we can just have a minute to know if you have any questions that you want to make us, or to open the dialogue on any.
We've got a question from Maritza, who wanted to know whether there is a center in Berlin, based in Berlin.
So we all operate globally, but we do have our president and board of the Global Center is living in Cologne, Germany. I'm not familiar with the geography of Germany. I don't know how far Cologne is from Berlin, but definitely we can connect you with our president of our board if you want to engage and find out what work they are doing and if they can provide more resources or share resources with you. So yeah, so we're all virtual. We have no physical locations yet, but yeah, we'll connect you. If you send me an email and I'll put it in the chat and then we can connect you.
I've got a question for you. What motivated Cody and the team to start?
That's a big question. I'd say personally for me, well, Cody and I met in grad school with a few other colleagues. We all started having these conversations around this time. Not all of us were in grad school together, but we started to come together to start to have these conversations. I'd say for me, it was growing up. I grew up outside of the Washington, D.C. area, very urban, peri-urban area, lots of people from all over the world, right? So very exposed, I would say. But in terms of support for LGBTI students, it was very little, although I knew there were some students who identified as part of the community, or there were teachers that identified as part of the community, but I myself never felt safe to engage or talk to an adult about my sexual orientation or gender identity. Because there was so much bullying. I mean, there still is so much bullying, and there was no safe place for me to explore my identity at all. And so, I mean, for myself, I'm 34. I didn't come out until I was about 26, come out identifying as part of the community and then figuring out what that meant for me. So my passion is, or really my mission is to create a world where LGBTI people don't have to wait until they're 26 to come out, that they are safe to explore these topics with their parents, in their schools, with the adults around them in a safe way. And they can really start learning about themselves as the other youth around them at the same age as that they can go through the same kind of development that other youth are going through, and not, I feel like I started dating when I was like 26, and I'm like, being like an awkward teenager and not knowing what to do. So I would really want a world where LGBTI youth are developing at the same time as their peers, and they don't have to come out much later in life, and there's no stigma around their identity. So that's really my passion for doing this work.
I'm really interested in the work that you do in the countries where we as a community are being criminalized. I mean, what can be realistically done if people are actually taking a risk doing this work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say the one notable country that we're working in is Nigeria, but we're not doing work there on the ground. We're engaging with folks who are already doing the work there. And so building those partnerships, for us, the Global Center is about creating connection, partnerships, a community. We don't plan on going in, Cody and myself, Jorge, going in and doing the work, but it's connecting with organizations who are doing the work there to make our work together stronger. So I'd say in the context of Nigeria, it's about creating a safe space where we don't expose their identity outside to that they're engaging with our organization in any way. And protecting their safety in that way, and trying to work together to strengthen the resources that we do have, so they can become even more impactful in their local context.
And if I wanted to open one in London, can I just contact you and go, I want to open a center? But I mean, what do you need to do to open a center? Not that I've got the capacity, because believe you me, in one of the other panels we are talking about activism and burning out, and I think there's so much work to be done in our community, and the fact that everybody's volunteer and is doing it in addition to their income generating activity just says a lot about the commitment that people have. Now I've got too much on my plate, but let's say someone in London wanted to start a center, what's the process?
Yeah, so it's not so much about starting a center. If anyone wants to get involved with our work, contact us directly and we'll see like where the fit is within our organization. So we would bring you into the organization and then we would have further reach in where we work, where we operate, further impact. So it's not about setting up a physical or virtual location. It would be about coming into our community, dialoguing with us, creating resources with us, and strengthening the work that we have, because the more voices we have, the stronger our product is.
I'm so inspired. I really wanted you to be at the conference. I think it's phenomenal, especially the fact that it's being translated in other languages. I'm very, very grateful for the work that you do. Top tips to close this webinar?
I'll pass the mic over to Jorge.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been very interesting. And thank you very much. I just wanted to mention about the how do we create activities in contexts that may be at risk, or maybe yeah, risky for the security of people. Well, I would say it's about finding allies, like really identifying students, teachers, directors, authorities that may be interested in engaging in these topics, creating activities that may be low profile but impactful, and actually creating a change and creating a network. What's been really useful is to be able to find people that are in the same boat, that want to push the same topics. And I think that's an opportunity to prepare for advocacy and for building any activity you may feel it's the one that fulfills the needs of the scenario of the identified group, and strengthening that the relationship between this group and preparing for advocacy, like understanding the issue, framing the proposal, being aware of the risks, but also of the possible outcomes, and weighing that decision. And also for me, the best way to contact groups that are being resistant is using an intersectional approach, like explaining how one issue may have an impact in other areas and how populations can experience discrimination or violence or criminalization from several sources and in different ways, given the many identities we have individually. So yeah, thank you for that question. I think it's very useful to reflect on that. We just have like one more final evaluation in Mentimeter. So I don't know if we have time just to share
I've just dropped in the chat the Pride in Education survey, which gathers all the data from all the conferences, where we ask what they like, what they didn't like, and also ask people to make a pledge. So you've come to the conference, and so what we're going to do. And we've got individual pledges and organizational pledges, and all of that data. I think we've got over 700 pledges since last year. And I've got a friend of mine who's going to help me with analyzing this, so that in June next year, we can demonstrate the impact of the 4 conferences that we have and build on that. And also the survey really informs the content of future conferences. So we really take on board and we really listen to the delegates. They wanted shorter webinars with more breaks, so that's what we've done today. They wanted more practical resources, they wanted books. So whatever people say who come to these conferences informs future ones. And I'm very happy to share the results of that survey with everybody who's come in. So I want to thank you so much. And I've been uplifted. I mean, I've been through a roller coaster of emotions throughout the whole of the day today. From, looking at the impact of COVID from a researcher earlier on, to inspirational stories from people who started up kids network in schools yesterday and today. I mean, there's so much that has been covered. So I want to thank you all so very much. And the next one will be in June. So stay tuned, join the mailing list, follow the Global Center on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. The more followers they have, the more power we have to their voices. So thank you so very, very much. Thank you for sharing the links, and all of the links that has been shared today and yesterday will appear in the November newsletter. Thank you very, very much. Fantastic conference legacy work, Laila. Thank you, Denise. Denise is from the National Education Union, which is massive in the UK. What the work that she does is phenomenal. We had a panel at the last conference, which only had like Black LGBTIQ plus educators. Yeah, I think everybody's working above and beyond their normal income generating activities. I think you have to have that kind of passion to do the kind of work that we do. Yes, sister, Black Fist, yes. Thank you so much. Together the change, Denise, absolutely. So some people have been here for 8.5 hours straight. Like we've got some hardcore, the number of delegates has dropped in and out throughout the whole day. We haven't had any trolls. Yeah, I was so happy. That's all. I think we had one troll at the very, very first conference, which we identified and kicked out immediately. But I think the people who come to Pride in Education are, generally speaking, teachers who want to access the resources, who want to be educated, learning together for the benefit of their educational institution and wider society and the world. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so very, very much.